mask policy? Will there be exemptions? Will the kids be tested weekly? I don't think, well, first of all, we don't even have testing kits. There was something by the governor yesterday suggesting that there might be money to have testing on site if anybody wanted to make use of it. But at the moment, no, we couldn't test kids if we wanted to because we don't have the kids. And if you were listening to the last board meeting, we're down 5 nurses. So we couldn't if we wanted to. So even if it's a good idea, I'm always a very practical person. The answer to that one is we couldn't if we wanted. We don't have enough nurses. If nurses, please apply. All right. Wait, I'm going to go one at a time, if I could. Yeah, I think Andrew was first, right? Or whoever up there.
Governor Wolf had sent out a notice that he was going to fund testing and COVID vaccinations within the school. That's what I had sent email to all board members the other day. So, understanding you don't have a chance to read it, but it's there, and we want to know where you stand with testing our kids in school and who's going to do this. Who's going to manage the health records of these children, the personal information?
Okay, so as I read that, and you correct me if I'm wrong, Dr. Lee, I see on your feed. As I read that, there was money being provided for people who wanted to get tested, employees, staff, families. Because I looked at it last night. You sent the email, right? I read it.
You glanced at it, is what you told me. But
right.
He is providing any school district who wants to do this. All you can do is sign up. So I guess the question is this something Ben Salem is considering?
But as I read it, it's, okay, so I can say the IU, the Bucks County Intermediate Unit, was kind enough to arrange a vaccination clinic here on site for staff. When was that? Dr. Velasquez? Was that March? March. So that was, they came here, anybody who wanted a vaccine could go get one. It was convenient. People were at work. It was a convenience.
I think the IU one teachers have voted on it.
I'm sorry. Rite Aid came here. Point being, okay. They were here at some point. You could go to the IU, a convenience thing. You're at work. It's offered here. You want one, go get one. Okay, for any employee, correct?
Well, the IU ran one, and teacher staff could go there, and then
Mrs. Rivera is talking about, I'm sorry, the IU ran one where they could go there, and then we ourselves ran one, and we partnered with, was it Rite Aid?
Rite Aid.
We partnered with Rite Aid. Rite Aid came, and they did this, okay? That was a convenience thing. Now, I am not an expert on interpreting, I don't speak for Governor Wolf, but I believe that's what it's suggesting because, there's money. Any staff member, we still have staff members, families who come here, right? You come back for back to school night, you want to get a vaccine, sure. That is different from a mandatory policy of we're going, I've heard stuff on Facebook. No, nobody here is going to hold down children and vaccinate them 12 and up, okay? Nobody's doing that. No one's going to hold down a child and shove something up their nose, okay? None of that's happening. The money, as I understand it, is to have that on site for anyone who is interested, and that includes families.
For children in school.
Yes.
Not staff.
Yes, so if there are children, if there are families, it's families and children as I read it, right? It's families, children. If you come back, like I said, you come back to, the dates, I don't know, right? I don't know when this money would arrive. I don't know who the partners would be. Would it be Rite Aid again? I don't know. You come to back to school night, and yes, we may be talking about, Leanne says we're talking about different things. All right, what am I talking about, Leanne? You'll never hear me say that again, let me tell you.
Governor Wolf had a press conference yesterday, and at the press conference they talked about that they would be providing money and resources for schools to be able to vaccinate and test within the schools, but it was all with parent permission. You have to opt into it. It wouldn't be anything. This is what was discussed yesterday. I don't know that anyone has had time here to discuss that yet, but it was there was talk of doing the testing where it's like a pool where they're taking a bunch of samples but then only sending it out for one test, and then if that came out positive, then they would have an indication of where the cases were. But it was all optional and all opt-in only, not even you have to opt out. That you wouldn't have to do it if you don't want to do it. You wouldn't sign up for it. Right.
Okay. So that is actually what I was talking about. It's like I said, nobody's holding down kids. If you want to get tested, if like, oh, my kid just got exposed, I don't have time to take off from work and go to Rite Aid, can he get tested at school? But we can't do anything. I mean, we all sign these emergency cards. We can't even give the kid a Tylenol without you signing off on it, right? So we're certainly not going to be testing, we wouldn't be able to. That's my lawyer answer.
If we're gonna apply for that and get that, is that what?
But if we did apply for it and get to it, it's a convenience to community members, students who might want to get a test or might want their child tested. We haven't discussed it. I don't know why if there's money and it's a convenience for people, I don't know why we wouldn't. But that's very different. I think your concern, I have no idea that we have not discussed, this is like Dr. Damsker today, Governor Wolf yesterday, and Dr. Damsker today. We've had no discussion of it, and as I did reply to you, I need to look at it. But if your concern is, are we going to require students to be tested? There has been no discussion of that. Is that kind of your base concern?
No,
Oh, all right, what's your base concern? Let me see if I can get at it then.
not yet.
Okay.
Just if you were aware, this was a discussion, if we're looking at doing it.
Okay, so Dr. Lee's going to answer that, but I can tell you, no, it hasn't been presented to the board yet because it just happened yesterday. So there's been no discussion about it, no.
Thank you. I mean, that's it. We're aware. We've been provided that information. I also share with the group here in our community that we've also requested that our county reopen the testing sites as they had till June 30th. So no word on that yet. That was a request that was tendered last week. Yeah, for school staff and students.
Apparently, Mr. Cohen, who is our Director of Student Services, is saying that there's some issue in our community with getting a rapid test and you can't necessarily get one, so maybe this is going to be an opportunity to do that. I don't know. So, but the absolute answer, no, nobody's talked about this. I mean, the board, I mean, you got to remember, we all work, or most of us work, and if we don't work, we're, like Mrs. Snyder is retired, but she's like busy doing consulting all the time. So we don't, it's you know, we can only get together when we can get together. And this is even for my colleagues I rarely agree with. It is true, you know, we can't. So if you have something yesterday and today, we haven't talked about it yet, honestly. Wait a minute. Let me get the mic back, Frank. So actually, here while we're waiting, I didn't even know about that. So is it hard? It's harder to get a test now?
Apparently. It's hard to get the rapid.
It's hard to get a rapid test, a 3-day turnaround, and people would want to know
And
before that.
To staff buildings. Right?
Oh, and to staff buildings, right, because if we've got a teacher, I don't know if we can agree on this, but if we have a teacher, for example, who's COVID positive, we need to know that right away so that, you know, they're not just teaching in class for 3 days and COVID positive, right? I don't know, maybe we wouldn't agree on that, but I would think we would want to know if someone is COVID positive. Just like you would want to know if somebody's got anything else that's contagious, right? Or they certainly would want to know, right? Where the microphone was somewhere. Hello, sweetie, go ahead. Is it on the bottom? Is the green light on?
If I don't want to wear a mask in school and I have a teacher who does want to wear a mask, are they going to treat me differently from the other kids who do want to wear a mask, and are they going to separate us?
Okay, so let me answer that. We have teachers here. I know our teachers have kids who have all types of differences. They've got peanut allergies, right? And everybody like complains, I can't sit, you know, we have to sit at separate lunch tables because somebody has a peanut allergy and everybody's mad at that person. But the teachers, as far as I know, and I've got kids here, no, they don't treat people differently. We've got kids with other dietary issues, like we have kids whose religious beliefs don't allow them to celebrate birthdays. That's another example. No, I've never seen our teachers treat people differently, and I'm not sticking up for every teacher out there because I don't like, you know, we have different teachers.
I think this is a little bit different than just having a peanut allergy. Since March of 2020, we have been on Facebook watching teachers not wearing a mask and crying about going to school and wanting all of them masked. We have watched teachers go to Florida on a girls' weekend. We have watched teachers have birthday parties for their kids with 30 other kids. we have watched all of this, and then we have watched those same teachers, and I'm not keeping this stuff from her. I'm showing her because the hypocrisy is crazy. So we want to make sure that they are all getting treated equally.
Well, those
Whether
teachers,
they're masked, unmasked, peanut allergy, no peanut allergy. We just want all of our kids to be treated equally.
well, I can tell you, there's certainly no directive from the administration or the school board to treat kids differently. I can tell you that. What an individual teacher may or may not do, I don't know. But if all these people you're saying are in Florida not wearing masks, they shouldn't have a problem with a kid not wearing a mask. I guess they're not in favor of it, right? So, but I think it's going to come down to, I believe did you want to speak too? Okay, hold on just a minute. I believe our teachers would, I hope they follow their administrator's guidance, right? So, I mean, as a board member, that's all I can say. I get the question, but Stacy Robeson's here. She's one of our teachers. Stacy, you gotta yell this way.
I'm transparent. I can't speak for everybody, but I plan on wearing a mask just because my son has asthma issues. And he's gonna go to school, but I would never treat a child differently. Like, I'm not gonna have masks on this side and come in. So I would hope that all teachers would feel that, have that compassion, especially in elementary school. I don't really know. I know in my building that wouldn't be tolerated. Our principal would not tolerate that. So I'm hoping that you won't have to go to school like that. That would be heartbreaking, and I would never want that to happen to you or anybody. So again, like, it's a choice. We're making a choice. So even though I'm wearing a mask, I'm still going to treat all the children in my place the same. If they're wearing a mask or not. So.
In terms of separating the kids, again, I'm always about practice. It's a practical matter. If you have a child who wants to wear a mask, they would have to be a little socially distanced at lunch, or what's the point, right? You can't send a child who wants to mask at lunch at the same table in between like two kids who aren't masked. It just doesn't practically work. So, but all of our cafeterias are big enough to have different tables. So, but there is no plan, even under our current policy, and Dr. Velasquez is our not director, I'm gonna get your new title wrong. I don't know, she oversees the buildings, there we go. And all the principals, is that good? She's the boss lady of the buildings. There is no plan to split up our classrooms. Again, back to practicals, we don't have the facilities to do that. We just couldn't, even if we wanted to. We do have room in the lunchroom, so all those parents out there who want their children masked, and you want them socially distanced, why they have to take their mask off in eating. I think all of our, correct me if I'm wrong, all of our cafeterias are big enough to accommodate that. Is that correct? Belmont is not.
Right.
All right, so we'll have to see what's up with Belmont. But that's kind of a practical thing. Wait, I'm gonna get you, Jamie, hold on.
Cassandra.
Cassandra, thank you, and then Jamie. Okay, go ahead, forgive me.
So, no, I remember at the board meeting, everybody kind of made it known that it could change at any time, and if it was Dr. Dansker or Governor Wolf, if they had made a different suggestion, that you guys were gonna follow it. So I just hoping we know as soon as possible with that, but come day one, when my kid goes to school with no mask, what's gonna happen to them?
Wait, well, I'll let Mrs. Rivera speak. I don't want to speak for her.
I just don't know if you don't follow what Dr. Dansker says or anything, like what.
This policy that came out is still a recommendation.
Okay. So that doesn't mean it's going to change.
But the board has to vote on it. The board has to vote on it. It takes 5 votes for it to pass. So, but that is a recommendation. That's federally.
My kids aren't taking the bus,
Okay.
so I made that already. They haven't been in school since 3rd grade, so they're a little excited to go, and I just want to make sure that when they go, I want to know what's going to happen, because I'm not sending them with a mask.
Okay.
So
Definitely.
what's going to happen.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the board will be together on the 24th. So if any change is going to happen, it would have to happen the 25th. Keep getting that wrong. It has to happen then. But you are correct that a number of the board members at the meeting did cite following Dr. Dansker, and he's changed. So neither Ms. Rivera, Ms. Snyder, we can't speak for other, there's only 3 of us sitting here tonight, so we're not speaking for anybody. Dr. Damsker, of all people, taking a shift is rather significant though, you gotta admit, because he's been pretty consistent all along. So, I mean, I think my colleagues, I hope my colleagues will look at this. So why is Dr. Damsker, of all people, shifted all of a sudden? You know, maybe there's a good reason for that. So as I hope all my colleagues, we have to be, every time something changes, we have to think about it, right? We wouldn't be doing our job if we didn't think about it, look, see what we've got in front of us. Is there a reason for this change? I mean, right, it's kind of shocking. He's now recommending masking, because I don't think he has in a long time. But, well, right, but he's apparently in agreement with them, right? I mean, he put it in writing. I don't speak for him, but he did put it in writing.
Thank you. Between now and the 25th, we will review the announcement from Bucks County today, Department of Health, Damsker, acquire, communicate, and connect regarding all this information, share the information with our board, and also a big part of this process is our school district solicitor. Right? We've got to make sure that whatever we recommend or share out with our board is legal, aligned with code, statute, and law, and above and beyond everything, in the best interest of the safety of our kids and colleagues here.
We have a technical issue. Josh, I just got a text from the community that this hasn't been live streaming and it's not on the...
It is live right now.
I'm not doing this again. Let's talk about swimming in the bathtub, and maybe it's good it's not being recorded. I don't know.
I mean, I can see it on my phone right now.
You can see it? All right, I'll just tell the person in the community that lane technical skills.
Tell them to refresh.
Right. Frank, I'll get to you. Jamie, Karen, could you take the mic to Frank? Frank has it. I know, but it's going to take a while. Go ahead, Jamie.
So if there are, I don't know kids in school anymore, I graduated. If there are parents who have their kids and want their kids to wear masks in school and want their kids sitting with either other masked kids or not near kids without masks, will that be accommodated as well?
So the question is, if there are parents asking for their kids to sit next to only masked children, will that be accommodated? For lunch well, lunch you'd have to, right? I think we're going to address that. In the classroom, I don't know the answer to that. I'd have to give that to, they may not know the answer to that. Are those talks, I see. Oh, I don't know this one. I can't answer this one. I'll answer almost anything I know. Our administrators do not have an answer for that at this time. Oh, one of our teachers is suggesting. Oh, talking about lawyer stuff, is that illegal?
Like any other medical issue, you don't have something.
That'll be part of the conversation.
That's gonna be, Dr. Lee is saying that's gonna have to be part of our conversation. Oh, right, so like the peanut allergy, you have to.
Right.
It's a different thing, I get it, but that's the closest thing I can think of that kind of works. All right, so Dr. Lee says that will be put to the board for some discussion as well. What, I'm sorry, what's that?
The board favor not to wear a mask if you can. Theoretically can't, or religiously or some reason you're exempt from wearing a mask.
There is a mask exemption, that is true. There's a medical process. It can't just, I'm unaware of any actual religious exemption, but I'm certainly not a religious scholar either. I don't know. Frank? There is a medical exemption. I think there's a form that you have to get from your doctor, completed by your doctor. There is a medical exemption. Mr. Goldstein.
Thank you. Sitting here being thrilled that we're past having our kids in Ben Salem schools and on in their wonderful careers. But I am sitting here also very confused. If Jack and Jill go up the hill to get on to the bus, and their parents have told them, you're not wearing a mask, and they are offered, the bus stop comes, the door opens, what happens? No mask.
Right, and that's all right. Well, I don't know that answer either. Because it's
Well,
true,
that's it.
masks are required on buses. Do we
Are
have-
they then denied access to the bus, escorted back home, invited to have a mask, handed a mask, they refuse to put it on?
I'm sorry, that one's out of my.
And after that, Dr. Lee, don't go away, there's more.
I'm here. So we've had this before, right? This won't be new to us. We will provide masks. We will, if recommended, and this is where we end up. Well, busing, you do need a mask. That's a CDC requirement through the TSA, Transportation Security Administration, right? They connect school bus transportation with public transportation. So we do a really good job of working with our kids.
Dr. Lee, do they have access to the bus or not? Yes or no?
We don't know yet. I'll defer to our solicitor and I'll pose that.
You said you had this situation.
We did.
And?
We did not have anyone who presented that exact situation. Our kids took the mask, had a mask, and got on the bus. And last year we were socially distanced on that bus. This year we won't be. That's not the plan now.
And if I may, directly to the good doctor, at the beginning of this section of this evening's entertainment, you shared with us that you would only notify the children in the class if there were, if you were aware of, I assume, a COVID positive. Is that correct?
It is.
Would you please define class?
Yeah, that's a good. Yeah. Well. Yeah.
Is the class
Just
the
the
entire?
class. No, just the class.
Is the class the entire, say, 9th grade? Is that the class?
No.
Okay, if the classroom that we're talking about, for example, is a Spanish 1 class, predominantly in 10th grade, and the kids, the 25 kids in that class, some of them are 9th graders, 10th graders, perhaps 12th graders, whatever. And of the 25, those kids go in lots of different places, don't they? And isn't that, I won't call it super spreader, pardon me? And siblings and family, etc. Are you not providing safe information to the class? They go back to their other classes, because this only happened in 3rd period. Now they go to 4th, 5th, etc., and lunch and all.
So in secondary
Wait,
level.
Mr. Cohen, wait a minute. Oh, I don't know if I'm muted. Mike's Mr. Cohen.
So you're right, at a secondary level, it would be probably 8 separate.
Well, you know, in 4th grade, maybe they go to a resource room,
Yep.
or maybe they go to a special lunch or some type of special education environment.
Yep, where they go to computer class, 3rd period,
Right.
or art class.
Who
Yes,
likes the computer keyboard down?
Right, everybody had their own individual device.
They have their own device.
They have their own one.
All right,
Yeah.
Was it something I said?
But when I say class, I
We have other
mean the room.
meetings in the high school tonight. All right, no. but the
Thank
answer-
you.
Wait a minute. But the answer is, now you're on the hot spot, you voluntarily took the
Uh-oh.
floor. Okay. But the answer is, so what do you do about the 9th graders? I mean, you need to answer the question. The 9th graders do, they travel all over the place, right? Those are 25 kids. What do we do about that? Are we telling everybody, every classroom they go to?
For that particular student,
Yeah.
you would notify everyone. That's correct. The difference is the level of contact tracing that was done in the past is not the same.
We would investigate each and every reported COVID case or identified COVID victim
notwithstanding the fact that you don't have to be notified of a COVID
That
case.
presents a problem compared to last year. And also, our county has not recommitted to contact tracing. We didn't actually do the tracing. We would provide as much information as we could to our county health authorities, and they did the actual tracing.
But let's go to pods for a minute,
Yeah,
Struble and Valley.
Oh, yeah.
It seems to me in a pod, having had children in pods, we can't just tell like Mrs. Robeson's class. The entire pod has to be told.
Yes.
Are we going to do that?
Even though the student is
Even though, all right, forgive me, who are your co-teachers, Mrs. Robeson? Okay, okay, so if the student is in Mrs. O'Neill's class, but, I mean, we know how the pods work, they travel around, we're not gonna tell the kids in Mrs. Robeson and Ms. Fi's class? Wait, let me, hold on.
Does the student go to Mrs. Robeson's class?
You ever been in a pod? Sure.
Well,
I know you
go
have.
back to normal, then we.
Yes, the kids go to different places, yes.
Well, if the student were to travel to different places.
Right.
All right, can we get a commitment to tell, okay, can we get a commitment to tell the whole pod?
Yes.
Can we do that? That's some extra emails for you, Mr. Cohen.
And they team teach,
They team teach, Ms. Snyder's saying.
across the pods.
Mr. Cohen, my meeting with you last time was so much more pleasant. Yeah, all right, Mr. Cohen is deferring to his boss. All right, here we go. So the answer to that is we will get it later. Perhaps the board will discuss this. I will go on record. I've had kids in the pod, my own children. For everybody who would like to know if there's a COVID positive child, I think it should be the whole pod. So I guess this will be discussed.
But also the sibling situation.
But if you tell the whole pod, then their siblings would know. Oh, so if my daughter is COVID positive, should the kids in my son's class also know? I will say, we did not do that in the spring. But did we? Maybe. No, I don't think we did that in the
I know
spring.
that the kid in the classroom told his parents
But,
that
you know,
Joey who sits next to me.
right. So, I mean, I think the bottom line is, there's no requirement anymore, anywhere. The county health department's not doing tracing. There's no requirement to tell us. We're not going to be able to know. So I'm going to say the same thing I said last week. If you're really, if you're going to have to double mask your kids. I'll say that again. I mean, I don't know what else to say. I'm always a practical person. There are people who are not concerned about this. There are people who are concerned about this. Do we still have, we got visors, as I recall? We were given face shields, excuse me. We were given face shields for every kid. So I'm just going to say it. Do we still have them?
CDC guidance specifies masks.
Yes, I know that. No. I'm just saying a mask and a visor. If you're concerned, ask your principal. We got them for every child. I don't know what else to tell you, because the reality is, if the health department's not doing the contact tracing, parents aren't required to tell us. I don't know what they'd say, and you don't have to be. Let me see. You don't have to have a doctor's note until a child has been out of school for 3 days due to illness. So that's any time, right? That's just the way it is. You don't have to tell us. Parents don't have to tell us jack, okay? Up unless it's 3 days. I'm just gonna be honest. So if you're concerned, you better mask up your kid. And my kids are vaccinated, but with all the changes, I might have them wear a mask on top of it. I don't know. I have children who are older, so. Oops, somebody else wanted to say something or ask something. Who was it? You.
Do we have the option, or is there going to be an option for online?
Okay, the question is there going to be an option for online schooling? Yes and no. And correct me if something's changed I don't know about. In the way that there was online schooling in last year, no. Ben Salem does have a cyber school. I was really happy. I got to be a part. I really championed that, and we started that in 2018. I was push on that. We do have a cyber school. I think it's, I'll say this too, it's the PR committee. It's a lot better than some of the other cyber schools, but it is a cyber school. It's not like Mrs. Robeson and Mrs. O'Neill's cyber school, okay? It is a cyber school that exists. If you would like for your child to participate in that, they talk to, forgive me the name of it, who should they email?
Maria Bray, Tom Hoffman, and.
Do they, but when they need to let the principal know? Is at this point, because we're so
That's
close?
your best conduit.
Yeah, let the principal know and they'll get you, it's Maria Bray, she is a Ben Salem teacher who oversees it. So we do have, that's why I'm saying I think it's a better cyber option than many, I don't need to denigrate any other businesses, but it is run by a Ben Salem teacher. Even though your actual teacher would not be, like I said, Mrs. O'Neill, Mrs. Robeson, or whomever. Okay. But when you, I see where you're going. When you do that though, you wind up committing for the first and second marking period. Is that still the same? In the past, you couldn't just come in and out. You have to commit to a certain period. So you would commit from September till some point in January. And then if you wanted to opt back into the classroom, then you could do that.
What if we're like 2 weeks in school and parent decides?
2 weeks in.
Too many cases, I want my kid to go.
Right. 2 weeks in, because, yes, right. Let me answer it so they can hear me on live stream. So the question is, what if 2 weeks in, a parent says, you know what, the district's masking optional, unless that should change, the district is masking optional, so I want to send my child, put my child into the Ben Salem cyber program. That is possible. Dr. Lee said that can happen. I think you can go in, it's the coming back out that you have to stick to. Ms. Hadley, do you have a, wait a minute. Mr. Polidoro is letting go, we pried the microphone out of his hands. Just one second. But I love to hear your voice, John. Don't take that personally.
I'm really baffled about the situation of thermometers. The largest portion of my tax bill is for the school budget. And I just cannot understand for the life of me, as important as thermometers are, why there has not been more of an effort in the budget to have thermometers at each of the schools.
Are you talking about the digital machines that you pass by and stick your face
Yes,
at?
as they have in the hospitals when you go into any hospital.
Yeah.
I mean, how many would you need per school? 3 perhaps to have all the children come in and do that?
I'll let Dr. Lee answer this one because I went on Amazon about that one. And that because people send their kids with fevers all the time, and it's a problem.
It wasn't, thanks for the question, it wasn't the investment or the expense that was, that kept that processor option away from us. It was that it wasn't a recommendation from our Department of Health, period. There was no connection between high temperature and cold. It wasn't, that connection or nexus wasn't as significant as other symptoms. There wasn't value from our local medical authorities. That's why we didn't move in that direction. And the other thing is, practical in consideration of school operations. If you're scanning people on the way in the door, you're presenting another whole congregate setting, which is what we tried to stay away from last year.
Thank you.
Anybody else have a question? Joyce, could you, where's Karen? We'll get John and then, all right, I'll repeat that. How about you want to head the mic that way and I'll do her question? Does that work? Okay, what's your question? Dr. Lee, you mentioned that too many people crowd around the thermometer machine. The audience member is saying that at other times we have kids come in a line, basically, and the teachers monitor it. Could that happen with a thermometer machine?
Yeah, I Yeah, I suppose that's a possibility, but again, presents another process to put on our teachers, a practical concern, and even before that, you know, if it was strongly recommended from our Department of Health or even the CDC, they suggested it, and they weren't very committed to it, and nor was our Department of Health. Yeah, can you imagine, in a couple of weeks, there's 2,000 kids coming into this building. It would certainly be a time issue.
I've forgotten to, I'll give you John, I've forgotten to check my email because people are able to email in questions. It says it's from an anonymous Valley parent, okay, who lives on Barnsley. If there is no mandate, how do you figure any separation of the kids masked would not be considered segregation and bringing us back 40 plus years of government initiated hate? Oh, I don't know about this. I think segregation, as most of us think about it, is something different. But as I said, to answer the question, we don't have the practical ability to do that anyway. So it's not really an issue. I've been hearing that word, yeah, segregation, talking about masking and not masking. I don't really think it applies, but we can't, so it doesn't matter. Mr. Polidor.
I just wanted to touch base on something I'm not sure if most of our parents are aware of in our schools. The system that we have, the ionizers or the bipolar ionization systems that are present in the room today, that are here as COVID killers, which charge the air, particles in the air. And if you think our kids are walking around through the schools without any protection, my question is now, with the systems you bought, the ionizers, how do we know their effectiveness in a classroom? For example, if there's a kid that's COVID positive in a classroom, he's exhausting when he's breathing, his exhalation, he's contaminating the room. And these systems are made to capture those particles and bring them down and destroy them. So even though a kid's not wearing a mask, the systems that we installed, that we paid for, I believe they're in all the classrooms. Do we know the effect of the ionizers? How effective are they? How comforting is it to a parent to know that you're not going to wear your mask, but these systems that are installed in the classrooms are effective? Do we have any idea of the effectiveness of the systems we purchased?
I don't think we have any ability to know how, because don't forget, we haven't, when we were last in school, first of all, I don't know how we collect that, but when we were last in school, we weren't at full capacity. Kids were social distance, all other types of things, so we put those ionizers in January, but the kids were all masked and socially distanced, so it's hard to tell. We can't rely on that to know how effective they might be in a completely different context. I have no idea what our community members are going to do. Our enrollment numbers right now, the children we expect to return are almost at full capacity. Would that be right, Mr. Cohen? Our numbers are down a little bit. But registration appointments are packed. But I know, like some of our elementary schools, somebody told me like Faust was from 700 down to under 600. So, and I don't know the cause of that, don't know why. But still, even at those numbers, it's going to be a different situation than it was in the spring. So I don't think we could, there's more kids in the building, right? So I don't think we can answer that question. And right now, it's mask optional, and we haven't had that. We haven't tested that. We haven't had it.
Better than nothing.
Yeah, no. We're going to keep them in the classrooms, correct? Yes, we will keep them in the classrooms. Right. We will not, but we're not going to be doing, because it was a kind of a person power problem, we're not going to be doing that cleaning, like cleaning midday. We don't really have the ability to do that. We're not required to do it. I'm repeating for the community, for those of you watching on live stream, Dr. Lee says it's neither required nor recommended about the cleaning. And I think that's related to additional research and data about surface transmission. So that is that correct?
That's correct. Thank you. So these mitigation efforts, this isn't my language, this is our Department of Health Director's language, are targeted and temporary. He hopes, I hope, we all hope, right? And as quick as the recommendation, changed from last Wednesday to this afternoon, it could go back as well. That was directly from him this afternoon to all 13 county superintendents. This is how fluid this COVID situation is. And every public health authority or medical authority is committed to one thing across the board. That kids should be in school 5 days a week. And this is what we are aiming for. To keep us in school, we may have to subject ourselves or present and avail and utilize temporary targeted mitigation.
Okay, so, all right, girlfriend. You've got the mic in your hand, I can't stop you. Go ahead.
I have like two-part here. So you have the boxes that you don't know what the effectiveness is. The masks.
Well, I
there's
can't quantify.
Yeah, I'm just saying masks, there's no proof of that. But we know there's proof in like health and vitamins and all that. Are you going to be upping the lunches with vitamins or extra fruit or anything? I mean, he's kind of a healthy looking guy. Kind of think he knows what he's talking about.
Are you showing off your husband?
You know. I'm just saying, like, health and being healthy is like part of fighting any virus, any sickness. So instead of learning critical race or whatever the heck they're trying to shove down our kids, teach them how to be healthy and like give them vitamins or give them more fruit or whatever you can do to make them healthier. Like, I don't know, like push more stuff like that. And I have one question is, if we have 5 days here, extra recess, if we have 5 days notice of if our kids have to wear a mask in school, and if we don't agree, that's going to leave us scrounging. So when my kids have to go to the first couple days of school, or as long as it's going to take me to figure out what I have to do with them, and they come with no masks, where are they going to be? Are they going to make them sit in an office? Or what I don't want them to get docked those school days for no reason.
Okay, well, all right. To answer your actual question, well, okay, your lunches, I can't speak to the lunches. They are what they are. I mean, I've actually talked about the lunches a long time ago, but I hate those little pancakes in the bag. I don't know what that's about. But even Mrs. Rivera and I once again found common ground. All right. But just hold on a second. I don't know. Mrs. Ropes and maybe has a plan. I don't know. But putting that aside, I can't, obviously I'm sure you're just making a comment. I can't overhaul the lunch system at the snap of the finger. But to answer your question about what would happen the first few days or whatever, I do know that in the spring, no children were docked days, right? So that didn't happen, correct? Okay, so that doesn't happen. As to what will happen, we are going to be in, I think the first step, as Mrs. Rivera said, we have to, and Dr. Lee, we have to talk about this. So I think you're asking for
a what if.
Yeah, it's a what if. I don't know. I mean, and I've said that, and many of us have said that throughout this entire process. Sometimes you don't know until you, okay, this is the problem today, what do we do about it? I mean, that's just the reality of it. Whether you like our decision, don't like our decision, sometimes none of us have been in a situation like this. I mean, I'm sure all of us, when we ran for school board, nobody was expecting all this, okay? Mrs. Rivera wants to go on record now. Come on, Mrs. Rivera.
When I was in school, when I was in grade school, I'm giving my age away here.
Wait a minute. Mrs. Rivera's about to give her age away, so she needs a mic for that.
They lined us up in the hallway and gave us vaccinations. And I'm not even sure that the parents gave the consent. I think they may have sent a letter home saying, we're vaccinating your child on this date, and they just lined us up, and we got vaccinations. It was unvaccinated.
Yeah, we don't want this. We don't want it to
Mrs.
turn into
Rivera is talking about. I don't know. What year was that in, Mrs. Rivera? That you got lined up for your polio vaccine?
Well, I grade school.
Grade school? I don't know. That was in the 19-something. I'm not that much younger than Mrs. Rivera, but a little bit. And Mrs. Hope apparently also got lined up for her polio vaccination. Okay. I'm gonna do, because it's getting so late, I'm gonna do one more question over there because your wife wants to talk about your body. But yes, let's send that live stream. See, this is an old PR for the PR committee meetings. You come, PR, you get answers here, and it's the most fun committee in the district, I'm convinced. Is that right, PR committee members? Yes, it is, thank you. But then I think some other people, so you get, from that sector, you get one more question.
So is this financially motivated?
Is what financially motivated?
If he follows this, what they propose?
Who? Dr. Dansker?
Yes.
Oh, I don't know Dr. Dansker. I do not know. I'm certainly not going to try to speak for him.
To my knowledge, the schools received funding because they followed guidelines, correct?
Oh, no. There was some discussion about that the money was tied to mask or not mask, but I think that did not pan out that way.
When the governor had mandates?
It was, well, are you talking about the current money that we're hoping comes to the pipeline? Or in the past?
When the governor implemented mandates on this?
Well, most of our budget, for any of you who are not familiar with our budget, 75% of our budget is local dollars anyway.
I understand that, but there was additional
about
funding that was given to schools because of COVID, correct?
Yes, I'm going to let Dr. Lee answer. I think that didn't really happen, what you're talking about.
Thank you. To my knowledge, and I'm required to stay connected to the money, the funding, and associated compliance. No, it's not. At least the CARES money we have in pocket, in the bank, in your bank account. No, not connected to any of this. There is a narrative out there that does connect compliance with CDC guidelines with federal stimulus funds. No regulatory agency, whether it be the Department of Ed or CDC, has said that to be the case. I'm aware of what is being said though.
Okay.
I think, well, I will attempt, if anything changes, or to really dig deep on that. Okay. Our superintendent has said it's not connected, and I'm not going to put Dr. Velasquez, as Dr. Lee said, writes these things, but I'm not putting her on the spot at the moment. These are voluminous pages, so. But I think the bottom line for the concern for this portion of the auditorium is, this is brand new, where there's a meeting the 25th. I think we probably need to move the location of that meeting because it's awful close quarters in the DO. So maybe we need to move that meeting. Oh, Coach Perb got the text message. Oh, look at that, the power of social media. Come in, Coach Perr. We have a question for you. Oh, look at that. You heard that. Coach Perr is refusing to come in and speak to the community. Thank you, Coach Perr. But we probably need, no. Coach Perr doesn't want to speak to me, maybe. I don't know. He's my daughter's AP. All right. There was a question. Coach Perr has been fixing the pool. He's been very busy with his tools. Coach Perr, no, seriously, there was a question. Do we have any, as the athletic director, yes, you are. Have you, do you have, the community's gonna think I'm a total goofball, okay. Have we secured space at other pools for our swim team to practice yet? Like, do we have, like we have it on this date and that date? Have we done that yet?
Not yet.
Not yet, says Coach Perr. But I did tell you I think we should, weeks ago, didn't I?
Because of COVID, I made pool once a month.
Ah, okay, it's a different wrinkle.
Try last year too.
Okay. So does that, all right, so what Coach said is that last year when we were looking for space, it was hard to get it because other schools, because of COVID, don't necessarily want to rent. So are you thinking, now like a serious question, Coach, are you thinking that if we need to find space for our swim team this year to practice, that may be difficult?
I hope not, but it could be.
All depends on COVID and other school districts allowing other schools going their building, share space.
All right. All right, so what schools do we go to that have pools? Coach Purr?
Yes.
You are live streaming, Coach Purr.
Sorry.
And Dr. Lee is talking in class, causing you to get in trouble.
I was texting.
Okay, so what schools do we use? Do we usually go to? Are the other Bucks schools if we needed practice
I'll reach
space?
out to Suburban One League, which is 23 schools in this area, to see if we can share a pool. And again, if it was a non-COVID year, I think it would be very capable. My concern is COVID, not a school district.
Okay, so that's the answer on that. Well, some of my, Coach Tim and Coach TJ have left. Coach Ed and Coach John remain. You're not Coach TJ, but, okay, follow-up question for Coach Purr. The question is, would we have to pay them to use their pools?
Possibly. It depends on the school and how much they really like this.
I mean, it's renting their facilities, and we might be displacing other rentals, so
You better have
probably.
one time and that's free, like we share our gym once, Blue Moon, situation. On a regular basis, we're gonna get charged.
We have a question. Can we get it over? No, too far. No, well, no, they won't be. It's out. It's being taped. All this is being taped. My foolishness out here tonight, but not foolishness. Informality. I'm really big on transparency. You ask me, I'm going to tell you, even if we don't agree.
So you're talking about other schools and for the swim team to practice. Now we talked earlier that a lot of these pools in the areas are closed. So what pools are you talking about that we would be able to possibly practice?
Public high schools, not public pools.
And so it would have to be for the community.
What?
It would be any schools where we have meets, right?
There's 24 schools in Suburban One League, which we're a part of.
And are they all open to actually be swimming?
I couldn't answer.
And that's the question.
They all had swim teams last year during COVID. So everyone's swam. Like Truman doesn't have a swim team, period, regardless of COVID. But everyone else in the league does. But they weren't too willing to share when this happened last February because of COVID protocols. Like our boys and girls swim together. A lot of schools split that up last year, like North Penn, Upper Dublin. They split up boys and girls to try to separate the two teams. So if, God forbid, someone got COVID, it didn't spread to the other team. So there's just a lot of other factors that will determine if the school district's allowing us to partner up with those swimming.
Okay, I hope the community's heard that it's unclear if we can get pool time elsewhere. So we will hope that our BHS pool is fixed by October-ish so that our kids can swim. But in the meantime, Coach Purr will check around and see if any of these other schools in the Suburban League are more willing to rent, depending on their own COVID protocols. Like Montgomery County's in the Suburban League, are they not?
They are. Stricter.
Yeah, and they're stricter, so I would be surprised if Montgomery County, I believe Montgomery County school districts are all required to have masks, no? Did they change that? Oh, okay. Their Department of Health recommended it, so that's going to have to be up in the air. We don't know. Anybody else? Anybody who's dying to talk who hasn't? Who's sick of listening to me? Mr. Polidori, you have spoken.
I know, one last question.
Okay.
In the event that no pool is available,
yes,
I would like to request a visit for the representative from Dectron to go to Schaefer and review that exact system and tell us if the part is available, it's not available. Maybe there's a substitute part, but have the representative from Dectron who built that system on that roof come to that pool, maybe someday next week, and let us know exactly what's wrong with the Schaefer rooftop system, so in the event we can fix it at a minimal cost. We have
all right, wait, hold on, I know. Are we prohibited, even if it has to be bid, are we prohibited from having someone look at it? I don't know the answer to that. This is a question for Dr. Lee.
I don't know specifically if we're prohibited from a review by a third-party vendor, but I've been strongly advised against having that happen by two different sources. Yes.
The manufacturer.
All right, wait. I'm getting you know when they have the hook pulling you off the stage? Our PTO moms are telling me to shut it down.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other topic, any other thing? PR committee meetings are, normally, we had to switch this tonight because of the BHS orientation. They are normally the third Wednesday of each month. They're all fabulous, and you know there's a lot of concerns going on right now, but we have a great district, and the purpose of the PR committee is to showcase that district and make sure all of our residents know why they want their kids in Bensalem schools. That is the purpose of the PR committee, and also to keep participate in community outreach, right? Our community needs to be informed. There's all types of misconceptions about what goes on, what doesn't go on. So you come here, you're going to get some answers, and we have some vacant spots actually on the committee. Okay? Mrs. Hadley, I'm going to let you close. Mrs. Hadley's a former board member, school board member, so I'm going to let her close.
A hot topic in the United States these days is CRT. And I'd like to know what is the position of the Bensalem Township School Board about this issue. We discussed pools and everything else tonight, and masks and so forth, but I think this is an important issue that needs to come to the fore of the board.
So because it's 9 o'clock, I'll answer briefly because I answer all questions, even when I don't have an answer. I'm going to defer because it didn't come up until just now. I do want to defer that discussion. There is a diversity meeting Thursday, so that is the place to talk about that. CRT specifically, I'm unaware that it's taught in any elementary school anywhere. It is a graduate, it's a college level curriculum and course, critical race theory for anyone out there. It is our books, our curriculum has not changed. They were out in the district office. I had, as a part of the equity committee here, I had asked that our curriculum books, all of our social studies books for elementary kids, be placed in the lobby. I'm sure we could put those back, right? Any resident is entitled to go and look at our curriculum and see what's in our books. So we can have those available. You just have to call the district, make an appointment, say I'm coming to look, because the place they're in, sometimes there's meetings in that room. So you just come, the whole diversity committee, or my whole subcommittee sat and looked at our books. There is no such thing as teaching a critical race theory class, curriculum, subset module in our schools currently. Is that correct? Because it's college level. Now, it's not a curriculum that is developed anywhere. If you're asking, are we concerned about equity? If that's the question, yes, because obviously we have an equity committee. We are in the process of hiring a diversity, I'm going to get the name wrong, diversity, equity, and inclusion officer. But in my mind, that's about making sure all our kids, right, are on the same playing field. If we improve the scores, the career readiness, somebody asked a question about college and career readiness, that's super important. We need to have all our kids to be college or career ready. If you look at our statistics, not all of our kids are. And that is something that benefits the entire community. So what we need to do to improve the academic success and opportunity, college and career preparedness for our kids, that's an equity issue, so absolutely. And then Dr. Lee looks like he wants to say something. Or no? No? Did I say it so beautifully that you don't need to? Oh, okay, for the record, I was good. We hear that so rarely, I have to repeat it. He never says it actually on the microphone though. But yes, we absolutely care about those things. But this narrative about CRT, it's not in there. Anybody who would like to come look at the books, absolutely. All right, Mrs. Hadley, former board member, you've closed the evening.